Can physical locations be haunted by demons? Maybe growing up you saw the movie The Poltergeist, produced by Steven Spielberg in 1982. It's about a family that moves into a home that is possessed with evil spirits. Or more recently, in 2013, there was the movie The Conjuring, which is said to have been based on a true story. It's about a 1970s couple that sought the help of paranormal investigators to get to the bottom of mysterious phenomena happening in their Rhode Island farmhouse. Growing up in San Diego, I remember as a kid hearing stories of room 3327 at the Hotel Del in Coronado being haunted by the spirit of a woman who took her life in that room. In school, we once took a field trip to the Whaley House in Old Town San Diego, which boasts of being America's most haunted house. You can spend around $15 today to tour the house in hopes of getting the glimpse of a ghost. Culturally, we're fascinated by the supernatural. And while as a Christian, I don't think that the spirits of the deceased haunt homes or places after they die, I do think that there can be demonic spirits that are concentrated in certain areas. And this is actually something that the Bible teaches in numerous places. But can places be haunted by demons? The answer is yes. So let's look at what the Bible has to say about it. The question really is, what kinds of places do demons haunt? This may be especially important for you if you're in the housing market. You don't want to get a place that's, possessed by a demon. And the answer that Scripture gives is that demons congregate in places of idolatry. In other words, where you have false worship or occult practices, there is a higher concentration of demonic activity. This is why you should never mess around with things like Ouija boards or seances or fortune tellers. It's a way of inviting evil spirits into your life. In Deuteronomy chapter 32, you have what's known as the Song of Moses. And in it, Moses recounts God's powerful works among his people. But he also talks about their idolatry. He says in verses 15 through 17, "But Jeshurun grew fat and kicked. You grew fat and stout and sleek. Then he forsook God who made him and scoffed at the rock of his salvation. They stirred him to jealousy with strange gods. With abominations they provoked him to anger. They sacrificed to demons that were no gods, to gods they had never known, to new gods that had come recently whom your fathers had never dreaded." In Psalm 106, verses 36 through 38 reiterate the same point. "They served their idols, which became a snare to them. They sacrificed their sons and their daughters to the demons. They poured out innocent blood, the blood of their sons and daughters, whom they sacrificed to the idols of Canaan, and the land was polluted with blood." You note the correlation there in both of those passages between serving idols and serving demons. In the New Testament, the Apostle Paul picks up on this connection in his exhortation to the Corinthians. The Corinthians were being tempted to participate in pagan feasts, temple feasts, and he warns them by saying, "What pagan sacrifice they offer to demons and not to God. I do not want you to be participants with demons," 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 20. This is actually pretty wild. Paul is saying that to the degree that the Corinthians participated in pagan rituals, they were playing footsie with demonic spirits. And the same is true today. When Christians aren't discerning and instead of shunning the idols of our present age, we partake in the worship of money or sex or whatever it is, we're opening ourselves up to demonic influence. Now, getting back to the question of particular places being haunted by demons, there are two passages I want to highlight for you. The first one is when Jesus cleansed the temple in Mark chapter 11, verses 15 through 17. "And they came to Jerusalem, and he entered the temple, and he began to drive out those who sold and those who bought in the temple. And he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold pigeons. And he would not allow anyone to carry anything through the temple. And he was teaching them and saying to them, 'Is it not written, my house shall be called a house of prayer for all the nations? But you have made it a den of robbers.'" Now, what's really interesting here is that word drive out in verse 15 almost always refers to exorcisms in Mark's gospel. You think of the many times that Jesus cast out demons during his earthly ministry repeatedly. We hear about the Lord casting demons out of men, women, and even children. Well, here in Mark 11, you have Jesus exorcising not a person, but a place. Technically speaking, places don't get possessed by demons like people do, but they can become infested. And Mark is making the point that the temple in Jerusalem during the time of Jesus' earthly ministry had stopped being a place of the true worship of God and had become a haunt for demonic activity. Churches that stop worshiping God and begin to adopt the pagan practices of greed and immorality become synagogues of Satan. The other text I wanted to bring up for you is Revelation chapter 18, verses 2 and 3, because it makes a very similar point. An angel comes down from heaven and calls out, "Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great. She has become a dwelling place for demons, a haunt for every unclean spirit, a haunt for every unclean bird, a haunt for every unclean and detestable beast. For all the nations have drunk the wine of the passion of her sexual immorality, and the kings of the earth have committed immorality with her, and the merchants of the earth have grown rich from the power of her luxurious living." Now, there is some debate as to who Babylon refers to here in the book of Revelation. Is it the idolatrous Roman Empire or a description of the apostate Jewish nation? Both are possible, but that's not what's most important for the point that I'm making here. Rather, note how the Bible described Babylon as a hangout for demons. Her greed and sexual immorality invited evil spirits to come and dwell in her midst. The great Western theologian St. Augustine made the same point I'm making here throughout his book, The City of God. At one point, he talks about how deceptive signs and wonders can even happen in pagan temples, and he attributes this to the work of demons. He wrote, "Now devils are attracted to dwell in certain temples by means of the creatures, God's creatures, not theirs, who present to them what suits their various tastes. They are attracted not by food like animals, but like spirits by such symbols as suit their taste, various kinds of stones, woods, plants, animals, songs, rites. And that men may provide these attractions, the devils first of all cunningly seduce them, either by imbuing their hearts with the secret poison or by revealing themselves under a friendly guise. Demons congregate in places of idolatry, and to the degree that we share in idolatry, we are inviting demonic influence into our homes. Haunted spaces, whether they are homes or temples, are infested because of the idolatries and immoralities that are committed in those spaces. And look, this doesn't have to look like bowing down before the image of a statue. It can be the worship of self, wealth, success, sex, comfort, control, or country. None of these things are bad in and of themselves, and most of them are good. But when they become the objects of our adoration, when we worship them instead of the true God, as individuals or as churches, we open the door to demons. The church and individual Christians today must take a resolute stand against evil and idolatry, and we need to be aware of the spiritual forces that are working behind the scenes to tempt us and to lead us astray. What are some of the ways the modern church is leaving the door open to demons, in your opinion? Do you think you've ever experienced demonic infestation in a place where you've been? Would love to hear about it in the comments.